Okay.
Well, praise the Lord, everybody.
Welcome
to On Point, #1 Saturday morning Christian-based call-in talk show in America, live every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. As you see, our broadcast studio has been renovated a little bit. We're broadcasting from our offices today.
Yes.
So we are truly glad that you're joining us. Please like, subscribe, share, really share so others can join us. As always, you can comment on our Facebook at David G. Evans 1. And we can begin this great conversation once again. Of course, Pastor Nicholas Smith is with us. How you doing, man?
How you doing? What's up?
All right. I see we have the rain from the hurricane.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. When I saw the pictures, we're fortunate just to have the rain.
Right. Yeah. I think it's supposed to rain throughout the week.
I would imagine so.
Up till Wednesday or Thursday, I think.
Yeah, they're looking for landfall, the hurricane, I think, in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna get the weather.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be going up towards Canada also.
Well, they had something hit the coast of Canada earlier in the week. They had a hurricane go around in a circle, semicircle, and it went out to sea and came back and hit the coast of Canada.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
They were shocked because that doesn't happen to them.
Yeah, not much. Like Sandy, that was rare for us. Yeah, a couple years ago.
Yeah, but we're so far inland that it was even though Jersey is has a shore line, we were so far inland, we got mostly wind and rain.
Right. Yeah, so it's supposed to clear a little bit, then rain again tonight, I believe.
Yeah. So you can. We're going to do this totally online today. There's no phone today, right?
Yeah, no phone. So y'all comment. Hey y'all. Hey Pastor Brown, how you doing? Pastor Danielle Brown in Barbara.
Hi.
Donna, everybody.
Pastor?
Welcome.
Guys, anybody that's from any area that was hit by a hurricane and you're able to join us today, we'd love to talk to you.
Yeah.
We're going to respond to all of our comments online today, so you can type them in. Pastor Nick is fielding those, I believe, right now.
Yeah.
I'll give a shout out to you that are joining us, and also talk about a couple of things that are really prominent and relevant in the community, in the region, in the state, in the country, around the world. We want to hear from you today. We want you to engage in conversation with us like you always do at David G. Evans 1. We look forward to it. So the political scene is at the moment not as nearly as significant as the Hurricane Ian updates. I saw a report this morning, and the shrimp people from Florida said that they've never seen one like this. They've been through 7 major ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd never seen surge like this before.
Yeah.
I
saw a house floating somewhere in Florida. I can't remember what the city was in. And it was devastating. I think they said it was coming back around again somehow.
Yeah.
To make another sweep through. I don't think it's going to be as strong, I believe.
No, it should be. But, if it hits landfall at 80, 90 miles an hour, they call that a category 2. That's a lot of wind, 80, 90 mile an hour winds, and that's category 2.
Yeah.
But then they say that the water surge is what the real danger is.
Right. Yeah. Because right now it's going to hit Virginia by 2 p.m. today.
Okay.
It's going to Carolinas now. Yeah. Wow.
Now, is it actually the hurricane hitting or the weather from the hurricane?
Well, it's the hurricane coming through. Yeah.
Okay.
It's turned into like a cyclone now.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're saying it's hard to predict.
They're just as deadly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cyclones are I kind of look at them as little pieces of the hurricane break off
Mm-hmm.
and start doing their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So they said it's hard to track how this one's moving from what I'm reading.
Yeah, because it hasn't done what they historically have been able to predict.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't think they've seen one hit, go out, and then come back for a second strike with this much severity.
Right.
Normally when they hit land, they break down.
Yeah. Yeah. So I saw off the coast of South Carolina, it hit Charleston pretty hard. Not as hard as Florida, but it still hit them.
Yeah.
And I guess the rain last night. Up here, it was raining. I don't know if people heard it. It was hard. I kept waking up because it was raining so hard.
It was raining hard, man.
I woke up like 3-4 times and just gave up. But
it was raining hard.
Yeah.
Enough that it was odd of enough sound that it woke you up out of your sleep.
Yes. Nonstop. Just.
Yeah. And I kept thinking, if the sound of rain is all we have to worry about,
yeah, it's nothing.
We're in excellent shape. It just made me think about the people down in those areas. You know what? I'm watching the response to Florida but I don't think I heard that kind of response to Puerto Rico, and they're part of the United States, right?
There's supposed to be a what's they're called? They're a part of they're not a state, but they're a part of the United States. But of course, we never get that same thing down in Puerto Rico.
Because they got hit real hard.
Yep. And the first ones too.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a territory of the United States, yes. And that's the problem. Every time it comes up, when Puerto Rico gets hit, the United States is very slow to the draw to go and help them, even though we claim them as a territory. I'm sure make money off of them, etc.
I don't understand that at all. Yeah. It's just, they legislated money for Virginia before the storm ever hit Virginia, so they could hit the ground running. And I don't know if we consider them a part of who we are, and they have senators and stuff that represent themselves in Congress and Senate and House of Representatives, don't they?
Let me look and see.
And then there's the Bahamas.
They have no representation, no.
No. What about the Bahamas?
The Bahamas, I don't think is a part of
somebody.
The Bahamas was from London, from England.
Because I've seen. Oh, I forgot to shave this morning. So I've seen their representative to either Congress or the House of Representatives from one of those islands that's a U.S. the Virgin Islands.
Virgin Islands, okay.
Okay.
They probably have representatives, but they're not a part of Congress, though. They come.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, as we always say, the who determines.
Yeah, because it's.
Yeah.
But it really is, even within our own country. I have a lot of acquaintances and friends in New Orleans, and they are still trying to recover from what was the name of that hurricane? Katrina. They're still trying to recover from Katrina.
Well, they got downtown first.
Yep.
And claimed they would go into the neighborhoods and never went to the neighborhoods. You got to keep the money flowing. And
yeah, they didn't. I every time I go to New Orleans, I purposely ask them to take me to the areas that were hit by Katrina. And some magnificent rebuilding has happened. But then you get out to some of the neighborhoods and it's like nothing. And I don't know whether they're waiting for people to sell their property or, get frustrated. Then they'll push in and the developers will come in.
Okay.
Or waiting for them to get behind their taxes or whatever the case may be, because they still got to pay taxes on that stuff.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
So I've been praying for them, man.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
God would help them and bless them. So we were talking about Brett Favre last week. So it wasn't just a soccer stadium for the school?
No, it wasn't just the volleyball stadium. Now through the text messages, he asked for money to help with the football team, and the governor told him, "Look, it's not legal. It isn't legal to give this money to these programs." And then he asked for prison labor to keep the costs down to help build these facilities.
Because you said now the football stadium is different from the soccer stadium, right?
That's different. Yeah, there's two different things. So first was the soccer one, and then
Okay.
he asked for money for
The football stadium.
And the governor told him at first, like, look, we can go to private, go like everybody else did, go private money to
Right.
get this and not have to press to get this other thing done. But
Right.
now they got these text messages and they're in a civil suit against Brett Favre, the state is, but no criminal charges has come yet.
But that's welfare fraud.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. I know they got we talked about it last week. The one guy they arrested for he was one of the finance people in welfare, I believe, for the state. They arrested him. We talked about that last week, but we need to see if they'll do something against the former governor and Favre.
And he wanted prison labor to keep the cost down.
Mm-hmm.
How much do these stadiums cost? Do we know?
Depends on. Let me see if this. I think this was a practice facility, but I know it's in the millions of dollars. But the stadiums are, of course, they're building multi-purpose now, so they cost a whole lot more.
I still say he should have just gone to his contacts. My day, we would say Rolodex, but today it's contacts. And called a couple of his player friends, called his owners.
Mm-hmm.
Said, look, I'm trying to do this work here. I need to raise X amount of money. If it's, 50 million, how many millions can I depend on from?
Yeah. And he could have did it too. He probably could have put the $2 million himself.
I'm sure he could have put more than that.
Yeah. I mean, I get, wealthy people, like most people, they want to use somebody else's money to do stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything wrong with, raising money and doing all that, but
you use somebody else's, but you get donors, man.
You get donors, not you don't steal from them.
Don't steal from welfare.
But here's the crazy thing, right? So he has a charity that was meant to help, I believe, people with cancer. He gave some of the donations from his charity to the school for something. So, I mean,
oh, Brett.
Yeah, I guess him and our former president have a lot in common, so that's why they are cool with each other. But yeah.
So the New York AG filed a lawsuit against our former president and some of his family for overvaluing his assets. Okay.
Yeah. So they're in a civil suit now because I think they overpriced. Was it Mar-a-Lago or?
Wait, no, he was doing that with a lot of stuff in Manhattan.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like worth $750,000. He valued it in the couple $1 million range.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing.
And see that way you get it benefits you at the bank, but also as a developer and somebody that owns real estate like he does, it gets you benefits tax wise.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's tax fraud. And that's a couple other things that are just not lawful for regular folk.
Yeah. So I mean, I know they still got him on the Trump No, they did the Trump Foundation thing,
mm-hmm.
and it was just pay some money, move on.
But this is not going because the IRS is involved in this.
Now this is a civil suit. It's not criminal yet. Yeah. So I wonder if it's going to be.
But I hear she's hitting him for 250 billion.
Let's see, I had it written here somewhere. Sid is saying that where's it at? Whoops. Yeah, tax time he devalued his properties. Yeah, if we do that, it's prison time. Yeah.
Yeah, for us it is.
Yeah.
It ain't civil. Yeah, it's not civil, it's criminal. But they handle it like a civil. I like the way they phrase it, overvaluing the assets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rather than just lying.
Yeah. So the governor of Florida is asking for hurricane aid after he opposed aid for Hurricane Sandy. Is that right?
Correct. A couple years ago, him and a few others were against aid to help the Sandy victims in North Jersey. But then when their state got hit, all of a sudden, we need help. President, can you come through? So.
Wait a minute. At the time he did that, wasn't Christie the governor?
Yes.
So what was his problem with Christie?
I don't know if it's much a problem with Christie, but that whole government funds, they didn't say what the issue was, but we know he was against it. I think even Rand Paul was too, if I remember correctly. And then something hit his state, and then all of a sudden he needed federal aid. And he asked the president and Congress for money. But we see that throughout politics all the time.
Why don't we notice it as voters? That stuff it's so obvious and blatant.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, until it hits you, then all of a sudden, it was like, let's look at Texas. So they want to have their own grid, their electric grid. And then last year, when the snowstorm went through, knocked their power out, they came back to the federal government saying, "Can you help us with, our electricity and all that stuff?" Y'all chose to be on your own. Y'all chose separate.
That's right. We don't want to be connected.
And then all of a sudden, you need help. Then, it's there.
You know what I think? I think that, and I say we, not us too, but as a country, we have excused this kind of behavior so much. Mm-hmm. It used to be that our political leaders did not want to be filmed saying something, and then 3 days later being filmed saying something totally contradictory. It used to be they didn't mind that.
Yeah.
But they just denied they said it 3 days ago.
Yep.
Well, we got you on tape. Well, you got to understand the context. No, this is what you said.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you said it. You said some votes are completely illogical.
Yep.
As long as you do these two things, well, everything else doesn't really matter.
That's
as
true.
Long as you take care of these two things. And people will vote against something rather than vote for something.
That's stupid.
Yeah, it is.
Because you end up suffering in the long run.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then you scream at the politician at that moment, but you actually voted for what you voted for what you're now screaming against.
Yes. And then blame the government for it.
But you voted for it.
You voted for it. Right. But what did Lyndon Johnson say? He said, I'm paraphrasing here. If you make a poor white person feel more valuable than a poor black person, you can take their money and they won't even mind it. I'm paraphrasing how he said the quote.
Okay.
But that was his premise.
Okay.
If you make them feel more superior, both in the same place, you can take money from them all day long and they won't say anything.
So what is it that now that anesthetizes lower income non-whites? What anesthetizes lower income blacks?
In sense of like how we vote
for us political, what anesthetizes it? What do we vote against? What do we vote for that's not in our best interest?
It's just from my limited experience. For some of them, they don't even vote at all.
Which is voting, actually. Yeah,
they don't participate at all. Because they feel like we can't, and I part of me understands this a little bit. You can't trust anybody.
Yeah.
So you don't participate at all.
Mm-hmm.
Or this whole thing now is I'm seeing from some black people is I'm voting black, meaning, if there's nobody out here with a plan specifically for black people in the way we want it, I'm not going to vote at all.
And that's called voting black?
Yeah, some people say some people call it that, voting black. Yeah.
So non-participation is voting black.
In some eyes, yes.
So does the logic go any further that if I don't vote at all, I have no say, and that eliminates my ability to complain?
Well, they complain. So they complained about Trump, but I'm like, but you didn't vote. Let's take Wisconsin.
Okay.
I think Hillary Clinton lost by 30 to 40,000 votes. I think. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
A huge number in Milwaukee, which is mainly black, did not vote. So then again,
they've been complaining about President Trump since that day.
Mm-hmm.
So making your voice heard is not being mute.
Yeah.
The only way you can make it heard is to vote. And I think we need to learn, perhaps we are ruled as a culture by the tyranny of the word or. Mm-hmm. We don't seem to be able to say, I like 10 things on this plate, so I'm going to take this plate. Mm-hmm. I don't like 4 things, so I'm not going to choose the bad plate. But what we do is say, well, I'm not going to eat it all.
Right. Yeah.
And it kind of hurts ourselves. It's not voting is almost like not speaking the word. I saw a scripture I hope to talk about the next message or two, where the Bible says in Psalm 103, basically the angels respond to the voice of God's word. Mm-hmm. Angels respond to the voice of God's word. So, it kind of dovetails with ministry angels working for the saints. Mm-hmm. So I think what happens is we don't understand that the way God's word is voiced is through believers now. That the Bible is showing us what God said. But if we don't say it, we don't give voice to it. Mm-hmm. And angels move when his word is voiced. Mm-hmm. Psalm 103, I think is somewhere around verse 20. I'm not sure. But I found it to be extraordinarily interesting. It talks about angels and their response to the voice of God's word. Mm-hmm. And then we understand our part in that is to be his voice, be the people speaking his word. Mm-hmm. So the angels can respond. I'm going to look into that further, but it was a great discovery. I love how you can discover so many things in the Bible after you've read it. I don't think you can read it all with comprehension.
No. It's exhausting.
Yeah. You lose, either you don't fully comprehend some things. I mean, I've studied the walking on water thing again. Mm-hmm. And for the first time, it stood out to me that he commanded them to not be afraid. Mm-hmm. Which meant to me that if he commands you not to be afraid, he's giving you the ability to do so. Mm-hmm. That was huge to me.
I think the simple things we sometimes overlook just because we look at a word, I know what that means, and then
I'm a little better now. I'll if I hear myself say, "Well, I know what that means," I know the next thing to do is to look it up.
Yeah.
Back in the day, God just said, "I said, look it up," and then I look it up and say, "Oh, I didn't realize,"
Yeah. Yeah. I think somebody brought up this is where some people, two quotes, how people think. They feel like no matter who's in charge, the situation doesn't change. So basically, why vote?
Why vote? Okay.
And then again, it tends to be all or nothing with some of us.
Yeah, that's that tyranny of the word or, this or that.
Yeah. And I get the frustration with, I'm not a fan of either side. I am pro, we need a strong third party here to raise it up. So we're not beholden to two parties. And it's not a foreign concept for this country. It was built on 3 or 4 major parties and then eventually brought it all together to 2.
Yeah.
Which in this country, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some stuff behind the scenes to work out this. But at the same time, I get government help.
Yeah.
But there's a personal responsibility with my life changing too.
Absolutely.
No matter who's president, no matter who's in Congress, no matter who is the mayor, there's some responsibility on my part that has nothing to do with the mayor, the president, what the government's doing.
Sure.
Yep. If that was true, then people wouldn't be able to get out of the hood and succeed, or out of the projects and succeed, or out of you in the backwoods of the country and succeed. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it could be hard for certain people to rise up.
Yep.
However, there's got to be some personal responsibility there, some way, shape, or form.
I think it's exemplified in the kingdom. Our salvation, our deliverance, our prosperity, our blessedness requires our participation. You can't get around it.
Yeah.
You know, you can't stand back and watch it. You have to get in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a concept that especially people of color who are Christians need to understand that you have an ability to get engaged, but you can't have, I got 10 things on my list, and unless you give me all 10 things, I'm not going to vote for you, because the other side is not going to give you any of them. But then we want to complain when we didn't participate.
Right.
You can't really holler about what you didn't impact.
Exactly. Right. And based on some people's thinking, I mean, our ancestors understood. You go with the best option for where you are at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King, all of them, they knew the real deal. They just went with the best option.
They were trying to get the thing that was most significant at the time, realizing some of the other byproduct things they weren't going to get right then. They focused on the big thing that they needed. What is the big thing we need to have happen? Yeah.
And go with the candidate that's going to bring that thing, and then we'll work on stuff a little later. But you're looking for a perfect candidate. Is
like in the Trump Hillary Clinton thing. I met them both, and it was clear to me that she was the better candidate. People didn't like everything about her, but I think she would have been a better president than the one we got. You know, you wouldn't have seen this purposed message of separation going on. You wouldn't have seen that. But then again, in that environment, a lot of people feel as though they're neglected. If what you showed me, that equality feels like oppression, you know, when you've been the person that's been favored.
Yeah. And we asked people all throughout the 4 years, you didn't like her, how you feel now?
Yep.
And I didn't trust her. She didn't come across as authentic or honest. But you voted for the person who lies constantly all the time, and like it. I don't understand that cognitive dissonance is just. It amazes me how you can see one thing, get on that, and then look at something else and completely ignore that, like it's nothing.
Yeah, they rather have alternate facts.
Yeah. I mean, but
to me, I don't want a hothead running the country. I would like to believe most of what comes out of our president's mouth. I would like to have a president who is unifying, not dividing. I'd like to have one that tries to cure our division, but does not purposely magnify it. You know, and the insanity of that, Pastor Nick, is that when a country is divided, the number of people that are for that division are far less than the people that are for unity. So it's really a masterful sight job to make it look like the voices of division represent the entire country, because it doesn't.
Right.
But the problem with people that are not hateful is that they don't like to speak up. And I think they get intimidated. And then when they do get intimidated, they do begin to talk. You hear words like, words like shame on you. That doesn't work for somebody,
Right.
you know.
They have no shame. They don't care.
You guys should be ashamed of yourself. Come on, you're talking to grown people. Come on.
Yeah. You look at like Mitch McConnell, right? So
Yeah.
Trump came after McConnell again this week. Did you hear about that?
No.
So he came after McConnell this week, and then he actually came at his wife again too.
That's because she put that board on him.
Yeah, Trump came against Mitch McConnell's wife again.
Why? What did she do to him?
Let me look it up. I didn't see. Oh, because of the whole electoral count reform. They're trying to do a reform on the electoral college.
Yeah.
Donald Trump said McConnell has a death wish and insults his wife. And the crazy thing is, if Trump, God forbid, gets back in office, these spineless, sorry, I shouldn't say that. These individuals probably will support him and play the game to get what they want. But here's my problem. They got what they wanted, but at what cost and at what price?
Yeah.
Because so now
I think what we may have a problem evaluating is that when we look nationally, we ask them what was the cost.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you think about what they're gaining personally,
mm-hmm.
I think that's why they do what they do.
Yeah. So he said to his wife, his wife must immediately seek help and advice from his China-loving wife, Coco Cho.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
And Mitch didn't rise up on that?
Mm-mm. I think he was kind of, you know how McConnell is.
What is it with these guys, man? You can attack their families and they won't speak up.
Right. Ted Cruz.
Where are their lines drawn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Probably when you affect their votes.
Well, once again, I'm back to what's personally beneficial to them. They're willing to sacrifice almost anyone and anything.
Yep. And then the problem is some of them in certain states, they got voted out by the Trump supported person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they supported Trump, and then I'm losing to somebody that Trump wants in instead of that person, and now you done lost your spot. Supporting somebody that is proved to you does not care,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, right. Somebody say Trump has he has them punked because they're afraid of what his votes and his influence in their states.
Like I really enjoyed watching Herschel Walker play football.
Yeah.
And I really admired his abilities as a football player.
Mm-hmm.
They know he has profound issues, yet they're simply supporting him so he'll be black against another black guy. I mean, Herschel's not a politician.
No, he can't even talk. I'm being mean. He lying, talking about he was in the FBI. And the FBI, he said he was in the FBI, I think. FBI or CIA. And then they came back and said Herschel was never a part of this organization. Them concussions or something. But the crazy thing is he is getting, I think, he's trailing Warnock, but he has a significant percentage of conservative voters that are going to vote for him.
Because America likes voting for celebrities.
Yeah.
I mean, how many celebrity governors has California had?
Mm-hmm. And even if and their whole thing is Warnock, the left is so demonic. No matter who we choose is going to be better than that. And I'm like, yeah, some people on the left are going too far for me. They're just going way out there.
And people would look at the Herschel Walker, who's the guy he's running against?
Warnock.
Herschel Walker, the Walker Warnock battle as non-racial. But the reason they're voting for Herschel is because he's manageable.
Yep.
And they would rather have a black Republican in office
Mhm.
rather than a black Democrat.
Yeah.
You know, who the black Democrat is going to is going to end up looking out for communities regardless who lives there.
Mm-hmm.
And Warnock is a brilliant guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know him personally.
Mhm.
He's a brilliant guy. He does great work. He, you know, like a couple other guys, I know he has the benefit of a classic education.
Mhm.
You know, from a traditionally well-known university,
Mhm.
and he's just he's hands down more qualified in many ways than Herschel Walker is.
Yeah.
But I believe that both political parties they both are guilty of putting people in place that they think will appeal to the people they're trying to pull.
Mm-hmm. It's a game.
Yeah.
So Sid asked, what do you think of all? What do you all think will happen now that some candidates said they will not honor the election in November if they lose? So a bunch of Republicans are saying if we lose, we're going to fight, and you know it's not real.
To me, that's so outrageous.
Yeah.
So the system only works if you win.
Yes.
I think they're gonna delay the results, but the results are eventually going to be what they are.
Yeah, they're going to be what they are. Yeah.
I just
Now, some areas I have a little concern because one thing I'll say, whoever's running the Trump thing has some intelligence to them because they're trying to put in whoever runs elections. They're trying to put their people in those spots.
Yep.
So whoever's the head of the elections board is a Trump person. They're going in these different areas and doing that. So who knows how that's going to turn out? I'm not saying they're going to get away with it, but it's going to be.
I wonder why when we have things like this, like voter suppression and redistricting, which makes it difficult or impossible for certain segments of the population to vote.
Mm.
I'm always disappointed in the lack of response or the level of response from the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, to mess with votes should be a federal crime.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, so if there are rules federally for this stuff, you know, and you see a state trying to go another way, mm-hmm. to me, Department of Justice should immediately respond to that.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that. It's not going to happen. You know, you guys are breaking the law, but you've got people thinking that they don't have to respond to subpoenas, man.
Yeah, and they're not. They're not. But you know, some places they're going to have more police presence at certain voter stations because they're talking about violence, you know, happening in certain places. And
yeah.
But again, you can't continue this rhetoric and not expect a fringe group to respond in a fringe way.
Sure.
It's going to happen. And it's sad when it's coming from the pulpit.
Yeah.
You got pastors talking about this stuff. Preaching on
the violence thing?
Yeah, preaching on Jesus and guns. And like it's our God-given right to be able to maintain a democracy and Christian nation.
Not the way they're trying to do it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, what bothers me, I know one or two of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what happened to them. Well, I do know what happened to them. They were playing nice for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Until they thought they didn't have to play nice anymore.
Yep.
And their hope is really not in that the Republican Party. They are former President Trump is addressing a massive insecurity that they have.
Yep.
And really, most of the guys I know were always operating in mixed settings.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of them now that, you know, when former president got in office, their behavior changed completely. Mm-hmm. You know, male and female. And what it revealed to me is they were just acting nice because they thought they had to.
Yep. Yeah. I ran in some of them circles. I'm still cool with some of them.
Right.
It feels like that superiority thing, like y'all don't do it the right way. You have to come up to our way of doing it and adjust to us because y'all too emotional, y'all too this. Well, we talked about it before, like in the faith movement, how
Sure.
They lose what cultural side of our Black side fit into a group of people who really don't even want them to fit in the first place.
Right.
And to me, I get culture changes, time changes, styles change. I don't think you have to throw away your whole identity to fit into a crowd. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I agree with you. I think that a lot of my acquaintances in the faith movement, per se, were convinced that the traditional way that people of color had conducted their worship services was wrong. So, which gets into a whole nother conversation for me, because I don't know if we want to have church our way, why does that give me a need to criticize the way you're having it?
Yes.
And why, if I like the way I'm having it, why is the way you're having it not right? And what put me in that position where I can evaluate someone else's style?
Right.
Because their style is different than mine. I don't think that does anything to promote unity. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, in its culture style per se, there's a biblical way to worship and praise, but how we express it in our style is unique to our culture. And
Absolutely.
The problem is we call cultural thing biblical in God when it's just a style based off a culture. If that's the way you want to worship and do it, cool. As long as it's biblically based within your style.
Because it's, to paraphrase a scripture, not by power nor by might, it's by my spirit, not by your style, but it's by my spirit.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we feel like, well, maybe we're insecure in our own beliefs, which is why we have to criticize somebody else's.
Yeah. True.
It's like freedom of speech. I think everybody should have that. And I've said it before, but your freedom of speech does not eliminate my freedom to respond. But people think that they're going to speak freely to you and you should only respond the way they want to hear it. You can't have freedom of speech and expect mine to be taken away.
Right. Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah. It's like, I curse at you, you curse back at me, and I'm offended because you curse back at me.
Right. Yeah. As a child,
I was just voicing my opinion. Well, thank you for your opinion, but this is mine.
Right. Yeah. It's like your child, you get on your child for doing something wrong, and they focus on how you responded to them,
right,
rather than what was done to produce the response. But
adults do that also
all the time.
As a matter of fact, it's the escape hatch for about 7 out of 10 adults.
Yeah,
I didn't like the way you said that to me. I didn't like your attitude. I didn't like the way you responded. That does not change what happened.
Yep.
I didn't like what you did.
Yeah, right.
And then, if you come back with anything but, some people want to hear their voice coming out of your mouth. So if you come back with anything other than what they want to hear, then you're making it about you and turning it around.
Yeah.
But you just said everything to me you wanted to say.
Right. I think that reeks of entitlement to me.
Yeah.
I should do what I want to you, and you just take it.
Yep.
And you respond in an appropriate way. But we said it before, the perpetrator can't dictate how the one who's been hurt responds. They can't dictate the process, can't dictate the response, But we want to do that, though. But people that do that are usually the most sensitive people, though.
Absolutely.
I can throw it out at you, you take it, you say one thing to me, and it's like,
Devastating. Devastating. I remember when we were doing the I think it was Four Men Loosed. It could have been I Love You, but I Don't Understand, but I believe it was Four Men Loosed. I think that was when we did the whole gray area thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people feel as though that in the gray area of your relationship, they should be able to do and say anything without any consequences. Mm. And then what's amazing about that is when you point something out like that, I don't like that you did that. They're like totally shocked, because most people say what they want to say without even considering what kind of response they're going to foster.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. Which means usually some people in their lives have let them get away with it for so long.
Absolutely. That's the only way it happens.
Yeah. So when they meet somebody, they don't have to tolerate that.
They don't know what to do with that, man.
They don't have to do with that. Yeah.
I'm supposed to be able to say whatever I want to say to you, and you're supposed to take it. No.
Mm-mm. 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 But that illogical nature is so strong.
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking to somebody, and they lied so good, I almost went with them. And I had to kind of collect myself, like, no, but I'm saying all to say that they're so convinced in their own logic that even when you call them on the lie, it's blatantly there. Some of them are so good, it makes you doubt yourself for a minute if you're not careful, and you got to confront it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times what you have to guard against is not getting sucked up in the passion of what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because people that lie well normally do so passionately. Yeah. Because they think that the emotion validates what they're saying. It's a good performance. Yeah. But all you got to do is listen to what they're saying and not get caught up in how they're saying it. Yep. And you'll hear what you need to hear. Yeah. Yep.
I done got like you a little bit. I'm like, that was so eloquent, but you are still so and I was like, that was a wonderful expression.
Man. I'll tell him that was so well thought out. That was just so. That was really wonderful.
Right.
But you're wrong.
Right? but we see that. I don't know how we got to stop, but it's pretty cool. But I guess they're liking it. But I was talking to somebody about that last night. Like, this person's going to just go off. They're going to say all that, and at the end of the thing's over. I understand you said all that, but this is still the way it is. Do not give ground. It's sad because some people you can't give them the ground.
No.
You heave one little inch of ground, they're going to take it and run with it.
Yeah, you can't do it. Yeah. I think people sometimes confuse I understand what you're saying with I agree with what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And like we've talked about before, understanding what you're saying and agreeing with what you're saying are two different things. Yep. Because you'll hear people say, but you said you understood. Yes, I do understand it, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So they don't get the correlation between you disagreeing, but actually understanding the words that they said.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I understand why you think like that, but you're still wrong to think like that.
Yeah, but a lot of people think understanding and agreeing are the same thing. Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're not. They're distinctly different.
Absolutely. I mean, if it makes sense, if Jesus came to live the human experience, he understands what it's like to be a human.
That's right.
I got you. Why you feel that way, but it's still wrong.
Yeah.
I get it. You know,
he says it's still sin.
Yeah, it's still sin. I get it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. All right, we got about 10 minutes left.
Anybody commenting?
A whole bunch of people comment, especially on all this stuff. This is another big one. What gets me are people who are looking for a fight and get mad when you don't argue with them.
Yeah.
That's
usually somebody narcissistic. Mm-hmm. Or, some people, what blows my mind and what aggravates the heck out of me is somebody that has an emotional issue with something that didn't happen.
Yes.
They get in their head like, well, suppose I had done so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. And you didn't respond the right way, but you didn't do it.
Right. Right. You thought your way into that and how you wanted the person to respond.
Yeah. You done got all caught up in what if.
Yeah. But that shows you how strong our minds are. We'll be offended by something or go somewhere. It had nothing to do with reality.
True.
You know, but our power of thinking is that strong. And you're right. I'm sure you've talked to people, counsel people, and they come into our office with a pre-conversation in their head that we have no idea about.
Right.
With a response that they want us to have that they had no communication with us.
Yep.
And they're shocked when we don't respond the way they want to. Well, I thought you was going to say X, Y, and Z.
No.
You didn't ask me.
You didn't ask me to say what you said. You asked me what was my opinion.
Yes. Yep.
Once again, you came into the meeting wanting to hear your words coming out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's going to turn into a relationship 101 class, but I think what we're learning and going back to, I think how we started the conversation was how people can say stuff, like our politicians can, and then all of a sudden act like they didn't say it the next day.
Yep.
It's interesting how you can want something so bad that you discard things just to hear what you want to hear.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's what they do. They just discard stuff to hear what they want to hear, and they run with that rather than running with everything else the person said.
But you brought up earlier, you said they can have one issue being satisfied. And because of that one issue that they want satisfied and you're satisfied, or they think you're going to satisfy, they can lie 100 times and I know you lied, but.
Yeah, this.
Yet, if someone you're not in favor of says something that's not true, your hair starts burning.
Yes. So let me ask you this then. You've been doing relationship counseling, and this makes sense. It's like, I was talking to somebody about this years ago. The individual that's bad for them, they'll give them a million chances.
Absolutely.
The one that's been good to them, consistent, makes one mistake, all of a sudden, get rid of them, never trust you again. I don't know what it is in us that we fight to achieve a love or acceptance of somebody that's not good for us. But it's somebody that genuinely loves us. We don't give them the same rope.
It is insane. We would rather try hard with someone who we think we have to compete for, someone who does not treat us right. And I think what happens over a period of time, especially in situations where you're being treated badly, you keep lowering the bar of expectation until you almost have accepted anything. And then at that point, it's all about trying to look as though the relationship is okay for others, not for yourself, because you know it's whack. There's something about some people who don't really know how to process being cared for.
Yeah.
Yet, the scenario you gave, some people will react to the good person the way they should have reacted to the person that mistreated them.
Yep.
And then some folk simply like a drama-filled bad treatment relationship. It makes them feel needed, wanted, and they like being with somebody they think they're going to lose every other minute.
Yeah. If you're not fighting me, you don't love me. Yeah,
man, just crazy.
If you don't argue with me, you're not passionate about me. And
because those kind of people think a caring person is a controlling person.
Yep.
They think accountability is control.
Right.
Yet, like you always say, those same people want the very thing they rejected. They want accountability on your part. They want consideration on your part. Selfish people don't want to be treated selfishly.
Yep. So true. We do have a question as we come up to a close. Why is it politicians can only recognize us when they want to get they want to get or keep positions? Other than our votes, we are invisible. They only come around during
because we allow them to do it.
Yep.
We don't call them on it. you know, we've seen here where I've told guys, you only come around here when it's time to vote. No, you can't speak.
Yeah.
They don't like that. But part of the problem is we've allowed them to, when I say we, not us, collectively, communities have allowed politicians to do this and not exercise their ability to leverage those guys into a real relationship.
Yeah.
But if you let them just pop up every 3.5 years and they get to walk in and say how good they are and then ignore you for another 4, that's not the way that's supposed to go.
Right.
But the leaders of our communities have to have enough chutzpah to sit down with those leaders and say, look, this cycle has to be broken. You can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And if you don't change it, we're going to vote you out of office.
Yeah. Sure. All right. We got about a few minutes left. Some quick announcements. Don't forget we have in-person service tomorrow, the virtual 8 o'clock, in person 11 o'clock for those who've registered. Again, you need to register every week. It's not a one-time registration. It's a registration for every week. Registration open from Sunday from 6 p.m. to Wednesday at 9. So you want to register for service on Sundays. All the information is on the website on how to register. And of course, we do have communion tomorrow night at 6. Virtually. You can pick up your bread in your cup today, I believe from 11 to 2, right, Maya? Yeah, 11 to 2 today. And then after service tomorrow, as people are leaving the sanctuary, we're giving them out also. And you can come up after service and grab them if you want for service tomorrow. I think, yeah. Anything else you want to share?
No, they can mail their prayer requests, email their prayer requests to socially@gotobethany.com. Of course, I invite you, just like Pastor Nick just did, to all of our services tomorrow, 8 o'clock virtually, 11 o'clock live, indoors. Please register and please be honest.
Yeah.
We don't want to have to turn you around at the door in front of everyone. So just be honest about whether you're supposed to be here or not. It is October. This is our church anniversary month.
Yeah.
Also, for those of you who have already started sending in gifts for pastor appreciation for myself and Pastor Nick, we thank you.
Thank you.
In advance. But now, do they have to register every week fresh?
Yeah, because to keep our numbers straight.
Okay.
Because if somebody doesn't show up, then it takes a spot for somebody else. So
that's right. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense. So just, you all register in time, and we love to see you. We're having a great time. We're staying safe, doing everything we need to do.
Yeah.
Subscribe to David G. Evans 1 and BBC of NJ. And subscribe to our DGEMS, DGEMS, and On Point podcast platforms. For Reverend Nicholas Smith, I'm Bishop David Evans. Remember, faith acts like a thing is so, even when it's not so, that it might be so. I understand people have stolen that statement and are using it around the country. Faith acts like a thing is so, even when it's not so, that it might be so. God bless you, and see you next time on Point.
See y'all. Bye.